Hey, friend, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm John Eli, your virtual mindset coach, and today I want to talk to you about the power of choice. I believe that each and every one of us is just one choice away from experiencing a major breakthrough in our lives. And I truly believe that if we were to be intentional with our choices and take responsibility to make the choices that we need to be at the place that we desire to be at, we would experience a lot so differently than we experience it in the midst of our circumstance. Really, what I'd like to do today is I'd like to share with you a part of my journey and how I one day had to make a choice of whether I was gonna merely exist or whether I was gonna begin to be intentional, to live a life full of purpose. And it didn't come easy. It came with me falling flat on my face. It came to me having to accept responsibility for my lack of responsibility in being a co-creator with God in my life. A few years back, I ended up in the worst situation that I could possibly imagine myself. I had previously been a pastor. I'd previously had experienced a very fulfilled life working with adolescents, working with teenagers and their families who had maybe some emotional issues that they were dealing with. Worked in the behavioral health system. And I helped families experience success once again. Also, I mentioned I was a pastor. I was a pastor for 10 years, and I just experienced a crisis in my life where I lacked direction, I lacked accountability, and instead of pursuing the things that I know that I was created to pursue, I ran in the complete opposite direction and tried to recreate my life. And I failed miserably. I found myself doing work and creating a career that just wasn't. It wasn't. I knew that it wasn't something that I was created to do. I knew that I wasn't using my giftings and my talents. And I found myself miserable and very disappointed. I felt myself full of shame because I had walked away from my life's calling, and there were so many people that had such a high expectation of me, and I knew that I had failed miserably. I remember one day, my youngest daughter, she's my stepdaughter, and I helped raise her. And I remember one day she told me, said, "John, Dad, I used to be a PK. I used to be a pastor's kid. Who am I now?" And I remember I didn't have an answer for her because I didn't even know who I was, and it was disappointing. And instead of dealing with things in a healthy way, I began to create a bundle of habits that really caused me pain in the long run and really caused pain to my family. I try to hide things from my family and from my wife, and it all blew up one day, and it was painful, and I was miserable. I realized that I had created a story. I know the truth. I knew that in God's eyes, I was loved, I was cared for, I was forgiven. I know that He created me for a purpose, but for some reason I began to believe a story that I was damaged goods, that I had no hope, and that I was going to be bound by confusion for the rest of my life. Instead of taking responsibility and making choices that would help me live the life that I know that I was created to have, I began to really focus on other people's problems instead of my own. I really began to let down my guard and just let life happen to me instead of being intentional to make life happen. Aside from that, I let go of boundaries that I had. I know that my home is supposed to be a safe place where I am able to retreat and gain refreshment, spend time alone with God, and be able to plan and create a life for myself. And instead, my house became a place where I'd Netflix binge for days at a time, and where I would emotionally escape just by spending hours on social media and having really unproductive conversations. Then everything fell apart, And I even came to a point where my wife and I, we separated for a time. At that time, I knew I had no other choice but to seek help. And so I made a choice. There was one day where I had enough. I was miserable with life. I didn't want to experience life anymore the way that I had been experiencing it. So I made a choice that things were going to change. And at that point, I didn't know whether my marriage was going to survive or not, but I knew that I had to change for me. I knew that I had to change because God had a greater purpose in life for me, and I had just been coasting by and just been settling. So I called up about 10 of my friends, of my closest friends, and I just confessed. I just said, look, this is where I've been. This is the state that I'm in, and I'm miserable. I'm tired of life as it is, and things have got to change. There were some friends that chose to walk away from me, and there was those that cared enough to remain as part of my life. And those are the friends that, yes, they slap me upside the head whenever I'm doing stupid stuff, and whenever they call me out whenever I'm being a jerk. But they're also the ones that have cheered me on and that have encouraged me to keep on going. And I'm so grateful that I made a choice that day to no longer remain the same. I began to seek help in finding counsel, and I attended professional counseling, things that I never thought that I would be doing. I implemented a plan of action for my life that would help boost me forward. I'm thankful to say that I've been able to overcome a ton. But it all started with making a decision one day that I was no longer going to experience life the way that I've been experiencing it. I was no longer going to buy into the story that there was no hope for me. I was no longer going to buy into a story that I had to live a life bound by shame. And instead, I chose to believe a story that God loves me. And He has created me for a greater purpose that I could ever hope for or imagine. So I share this story with you for a reason, for a purpose, and that purpose is that you too would understand that regardless of what you are facing, you have the power to make a choice to say enough is enough. You have the power to make a choice to be responsible and to be intentional with your future choices. You too can be a co-creator with God in creating a life that is filled with purpose, that is filled with meaning, that is filled with happy days instead of disappointments, one disappointment after another. But the question is, what choice will you make to make that happen? You know, as a mindset coach, I want to be able to help you if you need help exploring the next step for yourself. I'm always available. You're welcome to reach out to me and send me a DM. Even if it's simply just you need a word of encouragement, if you need someone to pray with you. Also, something that I've created and designed that is free for you at no charge. I've created a worksheet, a tool that you can use. It's called a Creating Clarity tool, and it's available for free on my website at www.john-eli.com. You can also find a link for it on my Instagram profile. You can find me on Instagram at the.john.eli, and it's available there for you for free. And perhaps I'm not the right person for you. I just encourage you to find someone to help you walk this journey. It's so difficult walking this journey of life alone. So I encourage you to find a community that will support you. I encourage you to find someone to mentor you, to coach you. And I encourage you just to simply make a choice to say, I'm choosing better days. I'm choosing a better life. I'm choosing to be who God created me to be. Go out and be who God created you to be today. It's nice chatting with you, my friend. Until next time, have a good one. Be blessed.